Okay, so it says I am live. Um, Hi everybody. I actually should be speaking through here. I'm actually looking through my laptop. I decided to hop on here and just share the message that I feel that I am supposed to share, and I feel led to share. It's a simple message about rest. I have been reading a or listening to an audiobook about Rest is Resistance by Tracy. On my phone. I'm sorry, Tricia. I hope I'm pronouncing her name correctly. Hersey. So Tricia Hersey. And the name of the audiobook is called Rest is Resistance. And I just would recommend that you would get it. It I've been called to this work of healing, and not only called to this work of healing, but called to this work within myself to heal myself as God is giving me instructions and as I'm really spending time with myself and as I have understood and our mental health and how that's essential and how that's important. And yeah, I've been called to this work and to heal and to rest. Um, I don't have a particular text, but it is in my heart to share. Sorry if you guys hear some construction in the background, and I want to show you guys my sign. It says, do all things with love. But the message that I want to share with you on today is strictly about listening to your soul within the relationship that you have within yourself, within the connection of your spirit, the connection of your mind, your body, and your soul. And for me, God really uh, I would say, wanted to bring me into direct alignment with how God saw me and how God viewed me. And that took some time. Um, and if you follow me and listen to me on my podcast, you can listen to the previous episodes that I've shared with you on my journey. And so I am sharing this message because I feel that I'm supposed to share this with God has recently showed me and told me about rest, and that was to do nothing. And what I mean by that, I had specifically, and now here, the premise of everything that I'm sharing with you before I go further, the premise of this is to listen to the voice of God, to adhere to the voice of God, um, and to obey the voice of God, even when it doesn't make sense. And that is where I am right now. I uh, remember praying to God about a particular situation of how to fix it. And God was saying, do nothing. And it totally threw me by surprise and a total shock because I said to myself, what do you mean do nothing? That makes absolutely no sense at all to do nothing. And so I ignored that voice and I went ahead and did all of the things. And by me not listening to that voice concerning that particular situation, I found myself creating a world of heartache that I did not need to create within myself. And in doing all of the things, in trying to solve all the problems within myself, I finally said enough is enough because I recognized that it wasn't working. And not only that, but I recognized that I did not adhere and obey the voice of God. Hear, adhere, obey, and trust the voice of God. And I think that sometimes I know for me, when I hear the word obey, sometimes that's kind of a rebellion or it's a similar thing of like submission, kind of comes from a place of slavery mentality or not feeling in control or feeling like a doormat. Um, there is some level of resistance to those words within me. There is also a level of how I was taught and rooted in this identity of no, like, I can't do nothing. I have to do something or I'll crumble. I have to do something. And so I had all of these other um, belief patterns that I agreed to and thought that that was the better route. And I found myself once again with a lot of heartache and anguish within my heart. And so, with time and time again, with each experience of me not dropping the weight and within that situation and not doing anything and trusting the voice of God. Remember, it's about trusting the voice of God, listening to it, trusting it even when it doesn't make sense. I have gotten in my own way by not adhering to that simply because I thought that it didn't make sense. By I didn't adhere to that simply because of my upbringing. I didn't adhere to that simply because of what society says you're supposed to do, the hustle and bustle of life. And so I had all that noise in the background of my mind, and also in the forefront of my mind. And I saw things on the outside of me like just looking like haywire. And I'm like, God, what do you mean not do nothing? I felt threatened. I felt ignored. I felt that I had to do something and that God's instructions or what God spoke to me felt as though I still felt that I had to do something. And that took some time for me to fully surrender and let all of the other stuff go. When your identity is rooted in what you think you have to do and how you think you have to be and how you think you have to show up, would even say that a lot of it is just what's been deeply rooted, the supremacy and the dogma of just our ancestors, what has been forced upon us to live in the system of oppression and this robotic system pattern of stress and capitalism and just a lot of these different things that creates early deaths, depression, anxiety, no joy, no peace. That was me for years. And so um, when I went to the voice of God to ask, what do I do in this situation? And God said, do nothing. I was met with all of the things within me, all the belief patterns and agreements of me thinking that I had to do something. And I remember my friend, she said, Cam, it takes more work to not do nothing and trust the voice of God. That takes more work to do that than it does to actually ignore and respond out of your own fear and respond out of your fear of survival. I really, really have learned just through around me of not only in my life have I learned to listen to the voice of God, and it's been difficult, but I am doing it. And I have learned also through watching on the outside of me some of the people in my life whom I love dearly and how they live in a world of anxiety and stress and and having a hard time trusting and relaxing and resting. And I saw really just I saw what that produced. I saw how that affected their health. I saw um, how that just damaged them as a person. And I knew that I wanted more and I wanted better. And I knew that because I wanted more for myself in that aspect and better, I was willing to take that plunge and that challenge. And it's not even to say that the struggles that I had in my mind, oh, absolutely. The resistance that I had in my mind of not of really doing my old tricks and ways of doing life, I literally had to fight my own self, so to speak, and demand within myself what was going to happen and what I was not going to do, how I was not going to show up. No matter what, it was determined, and the fight in me was very, very difficult. It was very hard. Even though on the outside of me it looked chaotic, and even on the outside of me it looked as though it was in a sense of like emergency, in a sense of hurry up and make this happen. Even though it looked like the house was burning down, I still had to be calm and still demand and agree and still say nope, I will not crumble. I will not go that route. I will not. I am determined to be at peace. I am determined to trust God. I am determined to listen to the voice of God. And I was just very adamant about that truth. I was very adamant. And like I said, the things that I struggled with was the things within myself, my own barriers, my own internal baggage. That I truly did at one point believe, or one point thought was who I was, ever since I was younger. And to understand that the voice of God told me that that's not who you are, that's who you think you have to be, took trusting that. And also, I wanted better. And I knew that there was better because I was always unsettled. But I thought that my unsettling was in me fixing it. But when I prayed about it and God told me about that situation to do nothing, that's exactly what God meant. And I want to encourage you today to listen to the voice of God, to adhere it, and to follow it. To listen to the voice of God, to adhere it, and to follow it. Those are the workers outside. To listen to the voice of God, to adhere it, and to follow it. To listen to the voice of God, to adhere it, and to follow it. And see, here's the thing, I didn't want to be repeating something that I didn't have to repeat over and over and over again. I wanted to learn the lesson. I wanted to hear it. I wanted to follow it, and I wanted to move forward. And not only that, but I just wanted to live a life of true peace. And that required me to make a choice and make a decision. And that decision I chose and will continue to choose to trust God. Now, that doesn't negate my human nature or being imperfect, but the fact still remains the same, to trust the voice of God, to do nothing. When God told me to do nothing, that's exactly what God meant. It wasn't doing nothing meant not come up with any answers. Doing nothing meant going with the flow. Doing nothing meant stop picking up the sticks and the tools to try to fix it and handle it. Doing nothing literally means you're being a portal of allowing the Spirit of God to work through you. Doing nothing literally means doing nothing, doing nothing. Doing nothing is everything. Doing nothing and being still is everything. So let me know if this resonates with you, if encourages you in any way. Um, I'm here. We are all in this together. We are all in this together. And I believe that we can make our worlds better. by listening within ourselves and being still and listening to the voice of God. Let me know your thoughts on that. I would love to hear. But that's all I have for today, you guys. Thanks for tuning in. Um, Bye.